Welcome back. This is Vault. I hope you enjoy. We can afford a few upgrades before setting out on the seal. The first is a very small discount on the perks and blueprints that traders stock. And the second one is very impactful for the seal and our future settlements. Beavers gain a passive effect that increases the amount of available offers for our trade routes. It's finally time to take on reforging the silver seal. In the sealed forest, there's a seal hidden in the woods, and to win the game we have to find it and reforge it instead of gaining reputation. And here, hostility is increased by chopping down trees instead of by the number of woodcutters assigned. We have 2 caravan options with 8 villages, but the first caravan brings more starting goods and also has beavers with our newly unlocked passive ability. Investing heavily in trade routes is often the best strategy to solve stages 2 and 3 of the seal, so these beavers are very useful. We're going to bump up the difficulty again to Prestige 14, which causes impatience to drop less on gaining reputation. And now we get to spend the reserve points we earned from completing all the hard modifiers this cycle. Let's start with the easy ones. Villages and wood are always good picks. Taking all the building materials is expensive, but saves us a lot of time building our initial production buildings and opens up an earlier second hearth or warehouse. I think there's a lot of value in taking cornerstone rerolls, since we only get to pick from 1 with our current smoldering city progress. Embarking with stone is nice as well to open some caches, which is another seal task, and that also synergizes with our starting sea marrow. For our last few points, I think we'll take meat to make packs of provisions for trade routes, and then we're picking between coal and oil as our last option. Coal burns for longer in the hearth, but oil is usually better for solving glade events. It's a tough choice. I'm going to go for oil here, since sea marrow nodes are a common alternative fuel source in this biome. Let's jump in. In the drizzle, villagers with a service need fulfilled will gain a stacking bonus to their resolve. In this game we have 3 hostility 2 mysteries. The first prevents impatience from dropping upon gaining reputation. Woodcutters chop trees faster, but won't gather any resources. And villagers without housing have a chance of perishing. At hostility 4, villagers without services will take less time between breaks. On Prestige 14, impatience falls by half as much upon gaining reputation. Our starting glade has 4 root nodes and an algae pond, and we have some blueprints to pick from. We could wait to see if we get any fertile soil for this herb garden, but our starting nodes have an abundance of roots and herbs already, and the distillery looks like a good option up against it. It's very cheap to make with all the building materials that we brought in, and we also have some starting pottery to make pickle goods right away, which 2 of our species like to eat. The supply looks like a very good option here. I really like taking a more efficient planks recipe in the sealed forest, since cutting down less trees means less hostility. It also gives us a container recipe for our pickle goods, and we get leather from our trees as an input. It's up against the guild house, which is an okay option, especially if we're focusing on trade for its passive effect. However, it costs 60 planks to build, so we'd basically need a better planks recipe anyway to build it, so I'd rather take the supplier to have the plank recipe rather than gamble on the guild house. These 2 buildings are both pretty interesting as well. The smithy gives us the tools and pipes recipe, which are used in a lot of seal tasks, but we need a bars or dew recipe to effectively produce them. The pack of trade goods recipe is also quite useful with the flour recipe we just picked up from the supplier. It's up against the furnace, which brings us skewers that foxes and bats both like. It's not as good a complex food solution as the distillery though, because pickle goods provide a lot more resolve, and the distillery is also a lot cheaper. We'd also get the copper bars recipe, which would facilitate making tools and pipes in the long term, but we don't really have any inputs to make copper bars, so I think we need more info before we make this decision. Unlike last game, we can actually form a bit of a game plan right away. We'll start with 2 woodcutter camps and a rain collector, and we'll use our starting building materials to immediately build our distillery. It can use drizzle water, so combined with our rain collector, we can make a lot of early pickle goods. With any excess labour, we'll set up the trading post and makeshift post, so that we can start sending off some profitable trade routes. We want to be careful with which trees our woodcutters are prioritising. We'll start by clearing out some space behind the hearth, and also by opening this small glade to figure out where the seal is. After that, we'll try to focus on cutting only these overgrown trees. Straight away, we have this very powerful trade route for incense. We can make it in the distillery, which will delay our pickled goods, but I think it's worth it for the amber profit and the early standing level. So that means using up some of our starting insects and coal, and we'll be using our rain engine to make as much of it as we can before the end of the drizzle. We have meat, root, and copper nodes in this small glade, and most importantly a drizzle geyser that will power our distillery. And it looks like our guidance stone is pointing all the way out to this dangerous glade. So there's a lot of glades between our starting glade and the seal, but that isn't necessarily a bad thing because we know from our past seals what the objectives are, so we can already start planning out which ones will be the most viable in this situation. Trade packs are always the last resort option. They're very expensive and time consuming. Caches require opening a lot of glades, and rain engines require a solid pipes production chain. So our small glade could point us in either direction. Copper veins are a nice starting point for pipes production, or we can delete our guidance stone to get some stone for opening caches. We'll take a look at our cornerstone before we commit to anything. Well, silent looting clearly points us in the cache direction. Permanent hostility reduction in the sealed forest is also quite good because we can't just remove woodcutters to drop it. So I'm pretty happy with this choice, even with all of our rerolls. So now that we know what direction we're heading and the task that we're working towards, we can start breaking into these glades looking for caches. And until we reach the seal, every glade will have another one of these guidance stones that we can break down to open those caches. By breaking into one more glade before the end of the drizzle, we can even get enough resin from those guidance stones to send off another trade route. It would be good to set up this geyser pump soon for the more efficient drizzle water, but we need planks for it. We do have enough starting planks just to build it, but I think it would be better to use those planks to set up the supplier so that we have a more efficient plank production chain in the future. So for now, we'll just continue using our rain collector for drizzle water. We have some orders to choose. We have a timed order to build 6 shelters in 3 minutes. It's probably doable, but I'm not really interested by the parts and wildfire essence rewards. The +1 to packs production is pretty good, but definitely not as good as 3 villages. The tricky thing though for this blue metal order is finding 5 crystallized dew. It's a bit of a gamble, but it definitely has the best rewards. Then we have big delivery, which is the most consistent option, but also the most expensive, giving us some decent rewards. The bricks and the +1 to planks production are solid. I think, seeing as we're about to break into a bunch of glades, there's a reasonable chance we'll find this crystallized dew, whether it be in a cache or a ruin or another glade event. And even if we don't find it, it's not like we'll be locked out of completing the order. Eventually a trader will bring it. And the 3 villager reward is such an economy boost that I think it's worth the gamble. Completing 2 Dangerous Glade events is pretty doable with our game plan. We're definitely going to open 2 Dangerous Glades pretty soon. And I like coal as a reward, but the other 2 are pretty mediocre. I think the better option in this case is acquiring 6 Blightrod cysts. This will naturally happen in year 2 at the latest, and gives us some complex food for our foxes, and also +1 to purging fire production, which could help us for our final seal task. It's not an amazing order, but I still think it's the better option here. We can actually get beavers resolve above 20 very easily here with our pickle goods production, and it rewards us with 2 extra beavers and some more inputs for pickle goods. Call to Arms has similar rewards, but making 5 purging fire is much more of an investment, so I think the guild is the easy option. So for now, we'll focus on the 2 orders that give us more villages. As expected, keeping the beavers happy was very easy, so our population grows. And now I think we should commit to our blueprint choice. I still like both of these options, but I think now that we've found the drizzle geyser, extra complex food production is more viable, and our bats still need a complex food that they like, which skewers will fulfill. We've been blessed this game with very interesting blueprint choices. The Foragers camp is very pickable here. We have a lot of small root nodes, and although we don't need the advanced camp to gather them, it's still an efficiency increase and an input for our pickled goods. It's up against the Tinkerer, which gives us a more efficient way to open caches with training gear, and also an alternative container recipe for our pickled goods in the pottery. I think this pick will be influenced by what's in our glades, so once again we'll delay this decision. We won't be able to produce any more incense before the end of the season, so it's time to send off this trade route. So here is our first Dangerous Glade. Of note, we have 3 large reed fields, our first abandoned cache with clay, flour and herbs, and the hidden trader cemetery event. The consequence causes our goods to be worthless to traders. This isn't too bad though, because our first trader will arrive before this triggers, and we can burn it down at the cost of fuel and ramping hostility to get scrolls, faster trader arrival speed, boots and some bricks. Or we can spend amber and packs of provisions to gain a reputation point, which is less useful in the sealed forest. So in the long term, we'll probably burn it down, but for now we can just ignore this consequence. So seeing as we don't have to deal with that first Dangerous Glade event right away, we can safely chop our way into another one, which will hopefully give us another cache, and we're still on the lookout for crystallized dew to complete our order. Since these reed nodes are a very efficient source of roots, I think we can ignore the Foragers camp in our blueprints and go straight for the Tinkerer. The reed node is also a cheap input for training gear and provides clay for pottery. By opening the second glade, we can now send off this resin route. Our immediate next step is to set up a harvester's camp and warehouse to start bringing in the reeds. The warehouse will also be useful in the long term to resolve the hidden trader cemetery and open the cache. There are 2 nice trade routes to run this season. We can immediately ship off the remainder of our starting coal for 6 amber, and we should also be able to bring in a lot of reeds this season from our reed nodes to run this profitable route. Our second Dangerous Glade gives us a lot to think about. We have some sea marrow nodes, which could be useful to open caches or burn some blight rot. There is a second abandoned cache containing fabric, mushrooms and coats. There's also a large encampment with 4 villages, and our Dangerous Glade event is the Lurker. If we don't resolve it, it will destroy all of our fish, algae and scales, of which we have none, so it's another ignorable consequence. And we can purify it at the cost of some goods, as well as reduced time between breaks to get a deep fish pond, but we don't have the blueprint required to gather from it, so this is not a good option. So the better solution will be to hunt it down with some resources that we do have, which will cause villagers that have nothing to eat to get additional hunger stacks. We're in no hurry to complete this, so we can start working on this once we have food well and truly under control. So that means the number 1 priority from this glade is to get these new people in from the encampment, and we can solve it using the roots that we're bringing in from the reeds. We have a few caches now, so it's time to start tunneling our way towards the seal glade, so that opening those caches will progress our seal order. We'll once again set up a small warehouse in this new glade, which will save a little bit of time working on the encampment and lurker events, and eventually serve as a drop-off point for this sea marrow. There is another encampment in this small glade on the way to the seal. We're running low on food though to solve it, but I do still think it's worth going for the extra villagers. So unusually, I think it's worth putting down a small foragers camp here to gather these roots. Usually I would say that these recipes are too inefficient, but we're going to have such a high demand for roots this game, between pickled goods, skewers and the encampment, so I think it will pay off to spend some time gathering these. We found exactly what we wanted in this small glade. This will be our 3rd cache for our first seal order, and it contains the +1 to planks production perk, which is fantastic. Now we just need to hope that there's one more cache in the glade with the seal, then we won't have to open any more glades. As much as I don't like shipping away a complex food that our villagers are eating, we have enough of a surplus, and this route is profitable enough for it to be worth it in this case. It looks like the hearth will be overwhelmed by blight rot in the upcoming storm. However, we'll only need one hearth upgrade to get enough resistance to corruption to withstand it, and I've already turned off the rain engine in the distillery to ensure we don't generate any more cysts. There will still be a problem during the storm though. Our bat's resolve will drop to the red at hostility 1. Our silent looting cornerstone will help, but we won't have opened all of those caches by the start of the storm. So I think the solution is going to be to call Zorg and spend some of the amber we've generated from our trade routes to buy some complex food that they like. The incense trade route is complete, giving us plenty of amber to trade with Zorg. As planned, we'll buy some complex food for the bats with these skewers, and we'll also take this opportunity to grab some pipes for setting up a second rain engine. I would have liked to run this reed route at a higher multiplier, but this is all the reeds we were able to bring in this season. We've reached the Seal Glade, but there are no caches, which means we'll need to open at least one more glade to be able to complete this task. The only other thing of note in this glade is this Totem of Denial. The threat causes the storm to last longer, but reduces the duration of the drizzle and clearance seasons. This is a painful one because it will trigger during Year 3 drizzle, meaning we don't get any benefit of the longer storm duration, so we'll definitely have to resolve this. Performing the ritual is a little expensive, but it gives +3 to global resolve, which is okay, but not as good in the sealed forest. Burning it down is the quick and easy solution for some biscuits and leather. We should spend as much time as we can working on glade events this season, because we have the Plague of Mosquitoes, which reduces production speed by 50%. So opening the caches and resolving this totem will be good jobs for our villagers. And while we're working on those events, we'll also chop our way into another Dangerous Glade, looking for that 4th cache. Thanks to the production speed penalty, we won't be able to produce enough provisions to run too many trade routes this season, so we'll focus on this very good fabric route, and we'll be able to source the fabric from this cache, saving us a lot of production time. We found our 4th cache in the glade. It also brings fish, faster trader arrival speed, and +2 to barrels production. There's also a ruined kiln. Rebuilding it would give us the coal, bricks, and jerky recipes. Coal would be a nice fuel saver, but there's also large sea marrow nodes in this glade, so I think our long-term fuel is solved. So salvaging the kiln for the clay and oil is probably the best option. And our dangerous event is the Harmony Spirit Altar, which will give us a -5 to global resolve if we don't solve it, so this one will be a high priority. Luckily we have another easy solve. We can use the rest of our oil and have our villagers drop resolve faster to earn some biscuits and incense. So while production speed is slowed, we should work on all of these events. We also managed to upgrade our hearth, so being overwhelmed by blight rot is no longer a threat. Our first set of newcomers is here. I would usually prefer the extra villager, however, grain doesn't go into either of our complex foods, and berries do. And the bricks also let us take advantage of the beacon tower a little earlier, which we haven't used yet in our previous seals, but we'll definitely put it to use in this one. We can now ship off the fabric from the cache in this trade route. And with only a minute left in the storm, we should now be safe to start burning down this hidden trader cemetery, despite the hostility. We've opened our 4 caches, so that is the first seal task done. Now we can choose between increasing our trade route standing level with 3 settlements, or earning reputation from events, or from resolve. We've already been doing plenty of trading, so standing level will definitely be the easiest one to complete here. And by completing our last seal task, we also earned another cornerstone. Exploration contract only applies to future glades, which is unfortunate because we've already opened 7 and I don't plan to open any more. I think we'll hang on to the wildfire essence for the legendary cornerstone that we'll get very shortly at the start of year 2, but I am happy to use a few rerolls here. This is fantastic. Hidden Reward gives us an ancient tablet for every 2 completed glade events, which includes all of the encampments and caches that we've been working on. So we'll instantly get 2 ancient tablets, and in total I think there's 9 events that we're working on at the moment, plus 1 that we haven't started yet, so this represents a lot of trading power. Let's see our year 2 cornerstone. We have plenty of rerolls, but Family Gratitude is actually pretty good here. Some free containers will help support our pickle goods production throughout the rest of the game, and we're just about to start gaining reputation from both foxes and bats, so despite having a wealth of options, I think it is the best pick here. We also have some new orders. We don't have bat houses unlocked, and they also cost pipes to build, so we can immediately rule out bat relatives. We have the means to keep foxes happy, and we're already working on more than 3 glade events, so while the rewards aren't great, at least it is a completable order. Well, this one's a bit painful. Getting 50 scales is a long way off, and the rewards are pretty mediocre. Into the Unknown has much better rewards, but we would have to break into 2 more glades. I'm not sure if the rewards are worth the cost, but once again it is an order that we can definitely complete if we need to, so let's just lock it in. The most important thing to plan out for this season is what trade routes we can run. We have 2 caches that give us coats, so I'll be able to bring in enough to run this route at the max multiplier. Sea Marrow is another option, but it costs a lot of packs of provisions. I still think it's worth it, we'll just have to run it at the end of the season, once we've brought in some Sea Marrow and made some more packs. And finally we have this herb route. Once again we're bringing in some herbs from a cache, so it's another route that we can run later in the season. A high priority for the season will be to get this furnace set up and start making skewers to keep our foxes and bats happy. It will also be our second building that can harness the drizzle water geyser with a rain engine, which could help us make some progress towards the final seal task. With our ancient tablets from Hidden Reward, I think we can start calling some more traders. We're especially looking for planks and pipes, which would save us a lot of labour time. Here is our trader. She doesn't have the pipes that we wanted, but she does have the building materials. You can never really have enough planks, so I'm happy to buy her whole stock here. Yes. Those planks will save us a bunch of time setting up this furnace to get skewer production going. I think it probably is worth pursuing our Into the Unknown order. Labour is our biggest bottleneck right now, and the hostility from opening 2 small glades is a pretty small price to pay for 3 extra villages. So there are a few small glades that are pretty close to our warehouses that we can break into pretty quickly. So now we can collect our 3 villages from Into the Unknown. There was also an obelisk in the small glade with coal, herbs, and mushrooms. We could make the offering to get the obelisk decoration to reduce hostility, but we can get so much use out of these basic goods. Mushrooms make pickles, herbs make packs of provisions, and coal goes in the hearth. So I think tearing it down is an easy choice. We also earned a blueprint for completing the order. I'm regretting not taking this forager's camp earlier. We still haven't got around to building the Tinkerer, which is what we took over it. I still think it's a decent option. Our root nodes make pickle goods and skewers. The bat house isn't that good of a blueprint up against it. It's a nice bat resolve booster, but it takes pipes to build, and we have much better uses for pipes than bat houses. So this time we'll take the forager's camp. Alright, it's time to show off the beacon tower. This building is unique to the sealed forest, and it gives us 3 different types of abilities. We can call in 2 packs of supplies, and choose either meat or grain. There are 2 bells that we can ring, which last a season, granting production speed, greater villager resilience, or increased trade route speed. And we get 1 miracle, which can reduce hostility, increase our resistance to corruption, or increase our Glade event work speed. Straight away, we'll grab a pack of meat, which we can turn into a lot of skewers. And I have a rough idea of when we want to use our miracle. I think we'll grab the increased resistance to corruption during this storm, so that we don't have to burn any of our cysts, saving us a lot of labour, and also setting up our 4th seal task. We've generated enough blight rot to complete our cyst cultivation order. We get 2 more important blight fighting perks, +1 to purging fire production, and an extra 100 resistance to corruption. We're running out of inputs for our packs of provisions, so we're having to dip into the meat that we got from the beacon tower. To keep everything running smoothly, I think we'll use up our last supply and call in another pack of meat. We also now have enough sea marrow and packs to send off this last trade route for the season. Before we run that though, I think we should expand our trade route offers. We can spend 10 amber with each town to get an extra offer to choose from each season. We need to get 3 towns to standing level 3, so we'll upgrade the 3 that look the closest. I think this clay route that we unlocked is actually better to run than the sea marrow route. It only gives us 8 amber, compared to 18, but the sea marrow route takes 7 minutes, blocking a route slot for next season, and a lot of its cost is in the packs of provisions, which is a bit of a production bottleneck for us. So I think we're better off sending the cheaper route that only takes 2 minutes. Let's assess our new trade routes for the season. Our best offer from the marshlands is this herbs route. We're bringing in herbs from the obelisk, so we'll run this one later in the season. By far our best route for the coastal grove is this copper ore route. We're not currently bringing in any copper ore though, but we could scramble up a mine on our copper ore veins. And for bamboo flats, our best route is probably this parts route. We only have 1 part left, but we're probably done with woodcutting for the game, so we can delete our last woodcutter camp to send us off at 4x once we have enough packs of provisions. We need to bring in a lot of copper ore to send off that trade route. Unfortunately, gathering copper ore with the mine is very slow, but there are a couple of ways that we can mitigate that. The first is by upgrading the mine to get increased production speed. To do that, we'll need some planks or bricks though, so hopefully we can find some by calling Zorg. And we can also increase production speed by using the first of our beacon tower bells for another 50% boost. Zorg is here.
Hello.
However, our goods are not worth anything to him at the moment, thanks to the consequence of our Hidden Trader Cemetery event. He does have the planks that we need to upgrade our mine, and we've planned this pretty well. We've only got 40 seconds left on completing the Glade event, which will remove the trading penalty. Now that we have an open trade route slot, we can ship off our parts route. Burning down that cemetery completed our Happy Foxes task, giving us 2 extra foxes in each group of newcomers, which has earned us a blueprint. I think we already have enough blueprints to win the game, so I'm not really interested in getting more options with the ancient tablets or rerolling. I'm not sure if we'll use either of these buildings. The Druid's Hut at least gives us a few recipes that we don't have yet, which could be useful in fulfilling some trade routes. Now we can grab our planks from Zorg to upgrade the mine. Also grab 2 pipes so that we can upgrade our geyser pump, and a few containers so that we can keep making pickle goods. By grabbing the production speed upgrade, our copper ore production is now down to 14 seconds per yield. We've gotten all the herbs out of the obelisk, so we can now send off this trade route. Sadly, we didn't quite get enough copper ore to run this route at 2x, so we'll just take the 9 amber. We also picked up another blueprint, this time from High Resolve. We have 2 very similar buildings here, giving us clothing and packs of building material recipes. I think the coats are a little bit easier to produce, using the resin that we salvaged from our guidance stones. I'm happy to lock it in, although we may not end up building it, because it doesn't really contribute to our plan to win the game. First things first, let's activate our Miracle of Strength so we don't get overwhelmed by Blight Rot this season. And now we can consider our trade routes for the season. It's really important that we send off a good Marshlands route because we need to catch its standing level up to our other 2 towns. The only one that's doable here is this Scales trade. We need to do a serious amount of fishing though to bring in enough to send off the route. Not great offers for Coastal Grove, but we will be able to send off these mushrooms. These Bamboo Flats routes are all great. We only need 14 more amber though to get it to standing level 3. So I think 3xing this copper bar route that we can produce in the furnace from all the excess copper ore we got last season is the easiest way to get us there. It looks a bit ridiculous, but we might be able to get 3 fishing huts down on this Scales pond to try to send off that Scales route to the marshlands. We would have to delete all of our other gathering camps and small warehouses to get enough parts back for it, but I think this is the highest priority task we can work on, so it's probably worth it. We'll also have a bit of extra labour thanks to our newcomers. The meat would help us make skewers, but we're actually running out of secondary inputs for skewers, so I'd rather grab the caravan with the berries, and it also brings a few copper bars to get a head start on that other trade route. 2 of our trade routes won't finish before the end of the season, so we'll need to ring our second bell from the beacon tower. The Song of Prosperity makes them run 100% faster. With our active route slot, we'll first ship off our mushrooms. Two more trade routes are in, so we can now send off our copper bars. And we're racing against the clock to bring in as many scales as possible. We've had to delete our 3rd fishing hut to get enough parts back for a small warehouse for faster hauling. Alright, we managed to complete our little storm side quest with 10 seconds to spare, so we can ship off these scales for 15 amber. Time for another cornerstone. This would have been an amazing game for Zorg Secret Ingredient, but we're actually running out of inputs for pickle goods now, and we've got skewers under control, so we can definitely reroll. No need for crowded caravan. We have more than enough villagers now. Let's try again. From the Ashes is not retroactive, and we're not going to complete any more Dangerous Glade events. So we have 1 more reroll. And we're not producing any porridge, so let's just decline. We also have orders. Well, we finally found a source of crystallized dew for our first order. We would have to complete 45 value of goods sold, which is very easy with our trade routes, but also deliver 40 wine. These rewards are pretty good. Getting a bunch of bars lets us make a lot of pipes, and the goal for this season will be to generate a lot of Blight Rot. It's up against Charity Fair, which is a non-starter because we don't have the market, and Fox Villages, which requires keeping Fox's resolve above 24, which we can definitely do, and also delivering 20 tea, which we have the recipe for, to get parts and some more foxes. We don't really need more villages and parts, so we might as well just take Thirsty Trader here, and if a trader brings us wine, then great. We don't have the wildfire essence to build another hearth, and we don't have the building required to satisfy the need for religion, so I don't think there's any need to commit to either of these orders. To reach standing level 3 with all of our towns, we're going to need to trade 19 more amber with marshlands, and 5 more amber with Coastal Grove. I think the pack of crops route will be best for the marshlands. Now that we're done fishing, we can go back to foraging for roots. And Coastal Grove has this very easy training gear route that we can run for the last 5 amber. The plan for this season is to set up this geyser pump on the clearance geyser, so that we can spend a bit more rainwater and start generating cysts for the last seal task. We'll need pipes for that though. So we're continuing to produce bars in the furnace as soon as the copper ore comes in, to then turn those bars into pipes in the crude workstation. We've now got a slot to send off the route to Coastal Grove, completing its standing level. And we'll also set up this clothier. It can produce coats, but the main idea is to have another building that we can connect pipes to and use clearance water. ops route is ready to send. So in a couple of minutes time, that will be the seal task complete. Now the only thing we need to focus on is generating enough blight rot. We have 4 rain engines running full bore. Thanks to the Prestige 3 difficulty, we just had 10 blight rot cysts appear in the settlement. That takes us to 24 now. We're well and truly prepared when it comes to fuel. The fuel mix perk that we got from our year 1 order has made it very efficient. We'll definitely want to set up a second blight post though to deal with this many cysts. Sotha has arrived. He doesn't have any wine, so we won't be able to complete our Thirsty Trader order. Instead, we'll just grab some crafting ingredients. Our buildings with rain engines will generate cysts faster if the workers have a job to do. Trade routes are done. And so is the seal task. Now we get to instantly cash in crystal feathers by delivering the 100 amber that we got from those trade routes. The other tasks might be completable, but they're a lot further away. And now all that's left is our final seal task. We earned some cornerstones from completing those tasks. We're not gathering any berries, so this is an easy decline. I don't see any good use for packs of goods either, so another decline. There's not much more to do now while we wait for the cysts to spawn, so time for a very quick recap before the storm hits. The combination of the silent looting cornerstone and the seal task to open 4 caches was very powerful. The biggest downside of the cache task is that you have to open a lot of glades and therefore gain a lot of hostility, which was mitigated by silent looting. Hidden Reward also comboed well with all the glades that we opened, netting us 5 ancient tablets in the end. It was also important that our first few Dangerous Glades had negligible consequences. We were able to completely ignore them and continue opening glades until we found all our caches. I think the Beaver starting ability was very useful for increasing our trade standing level so quickly. We were running routes non-stop for most of the game, which is made a lot easier with the extra offers. And we got to show off the beacon tower for the first time. I think we pretty much used it to its maximum potential, especially the increased resistance to corruption, allowing us to bring a lot of extra cysts into the start of year 3. Hopefully now, we can sit back and let our blight fighters purge the cysts and reforge the seal. I hope you enjoyed this game, and thank you very much for all the support lately. I'll see you in the next one for the start of a new cycle.